The United States is deeper in debt than ever before. $36 trillion and rising fast. Not so long ago, that number was just $1.5 trillion. The year was 1984. It was a memorable year. The year of the LA Olympics, the Terminator, Michael Jackson, and Reagan was elected for a second term.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
Where did all the money go over the last 40 years? The Iraq War I, Iraq War II, the war on terror, welfare handouts, an ever fatter, ever sicker population, bank bailouts, and COVID-19. America is going broke, and only a superhuman effort can save it. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Trump's buddy-in-chief, Elon Musk. Hello and welcome to the Nexus. Today we're looking at Elon Musk and how much influence he's having and will have over Donald Trump's new administration. He'll soon be in charge of the Department of Government Efficiency, aka DOGE, where he's expected to slash jobs and spending. He's also been staying a lot at Trump's Florida mansion, giving the president-elect advice on his cabinet.
You know, he likes this place. I can't get him out of here. He just likes this place.
Apparently, some of Trump's team are getting rather fed up with Mr. Musk, and we'll have that story a little later in the program.
The immediate signs of this emerging came at a dinner at Mar-a-lago when apparently voices were raised.
They became like two little boys who were fighting for daddy's attention. They're jealous. It brings out the worst behavior.
More on that in a minute, but first let's take a look at Elon Musk's new job, being in charge of DOGE.
We're gonna get the government off your back and out of your pocketbook. Your money is being wasted, and the Department of Government Efficiency is gonna fix that. The future is gonna be amazing!
The greatest capitalist in the history of the United States of America, Elon Musk!
More breaking Trump transition news at this hour. Trump tapping Tesla CEO Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy to lead a, quote, Department of Government Efficiency.
That's what I'm talking about.
Also known as DOGE.
DOGE, the new agency whose name is a meme. The DOGE.
Is this really serious? How does anyone take this logo and Musk and his dark glasses seriously?
I think the American people take him seriously because of the success that he's achieved as a businessman.
Trump says the agency would slash excess regulations, dismantle government bureaucracy, and cut wasteful expenditures.
Government spending is like bankrupting the country.
They're going to be saving a lot of money and making our country stronger and better.
They're basically acting like outside consultants.
Now he can have substantial influence inside of government without actually having to follow the limitations that government might put on him.
I love this idea. Love it. I love it.
I'm not just MAGA, I'm dark MAGA.
They are the Bruce Wayne and Dick Grayson of our economy.
There's hundreds of billions of dollars of waste in our government.
So what have we been spending some of our federal funds on?
12 drag shows in Ecuador, smart toilets, colonial Mexican soundscapes, helmets and seat belts in Ghana.
Americans can't afford grocery bills, but hey, let's spend millions on a bunch of ridiculous projects outside this country.
The government isn't even sure how many government agencies there are.
We got a lot of people in a lot of departments.
More agencies than years that our country has been a country.
The American people are tired of a bloated government.
Elon and Vivek are coming in and they're going to blow up that structure.
Let's go!
We've got this suffocating, massive federal bureaucracy.
I don't know if you've got to know Elon yet, but he doesn't bring a chisel, he brings a chainsaw, and we're going to be taking it to that bureaucracy.
That's what I'm talking about.
I think he's going to go full, Javier Milei and take a chainsaw to it.
Because his cut everything attitude is working.
I love you, Elon. He's a character, he's a special guy, he's a super genius.
How much do you think we can rip out of this wasted $6.5 trillion Harris-Biden budget?
Well, I think we can do at least $2 trillion.
Yeah!
Take over, Elon, just take over.
Right back to the serious stuff now, and there are reports that Trump's team is getting more than a little fed up with Elon. Let's bring in our panel now. David Charter is the Times correspondent in Washington, and Jan Halper Hayes used to work on Trump's transition team and still keeps in touch with his inner circle. Welcome to the program, both of you. David, let's start with you. The tensions between Musk and Trump's inner circle. Tell us.
Well, what you've got to bear in mind, I think, is that Elon Musk only really appeared as a Trump supporter in July after that failed assassination attempt. And up until then, well, a few months before, he had supported in the primary campaign a rival, Ron DeSantis, and helped him launch his attempt to dethrone Trump. So he does appear now to be constantly at Donald Trump's side, and he's been given some important tasks to do in the incoming administration. But I think this recent arrival has caused some suspicion among longer-serving aides of Trump who've been there through thick and thin when Trump looked like perhaps he was finished even back in 2021 or 2022. And the immediate cause for the immediate signs of this emerging came at a dinner at Mar-a-lago, which is Trump's Florida residence, which is really the White House by the sea in Florida, where he's putting together his administration and his cabinet choices, when apparently voices were raised between Elon Musk and a legal advisor to Trump called Boris Epstein. Now, what we understand is that Musk was accusing Epstein of leaking details to the media following a very controversial choice for Attorney General by Trump, which Epstein had a hand in, and that was the nomination of Matt Gaetz, a Florida congressman who has an ethics investigation against him, for example, which is going to make his confirmation very tricky. And this blow-up was witnessed by other diners at Mar-a-Lago, and seems to be a suggestion, a sign that all is not well in a camp which up until then was seemingly rather harmonious, even though it is a group of very fierce egos all trying to compete to get their views recognized by the president.
Jan, you've been on the transition team before, so you know what it's like to have all these egos in a room. Who do you think, if this confrontation is real, who do you think is going to get the better of it? Do you think it's going to be Elon Musk, the world's richest man, or do you think it's going to be this Boris Epstein character?
Boris Epstein is from the past, but let me give you an example. When I was on the transition team, I was focused on recommendations for the Trump culture. Jared Kushner was supposed to be leading the Office of Innovation, and Steve Bannon was there. They became like two little boys who were fighting for daddy's attention. That is something that happens in political campaigns, and it definitely happens every day in politics. So, but what we have to look at is who was at the MMA fight with Trump. Elon was sitting next to him. Who was watching another sports game on the plane? It was RFK Jr. Boris Epstein has never had that kind of relationship. And the relationship that Donald has with Vivek Ramaswamy, Elon Musk, RFK Jr., Tulsi Gabbard is one of equals. And he never had the one of equals in the 2016 administration. They're jealous. It brings out the worst behavior.
Yes, they're all very, very big characters in their own right, aren't they? Having either run multiple companies or they have run for the presidency themselves. They're all very, very big characters, but they seem to have been getting along very well at the UFC fight. But the question about Boris Epstein being in the past, he did manage to persuade Trump, did he, to put Matt Gaetz forward as Attorney General? Pretty controversial.
Well, on one hand, it's controversial. On the other hand, he knows that Matt Gaetz will focus on law and order, on the Constitution, on doing the right things and cutting through all of the partisan efforts that's been going on in the Department of Justice. But Boris Epstein was a voice during 2016. He hasn't really been a voice now.
David, do you think Gates is going to survive the Senate confirmation process?
Yeah, well, Trump certainly hopes so. It's been supposed by some people that he's been put up simply as a lightning rod for all and any opposition to his various controversial picks for cabinet places. But I just don't buy that. I think that Trump really wants him, and if anything, he is the ultimate in a Trump pick. He's someone who has expressed extreme loyalty to Trump, and we know that's one competence that is always at the forefront when Trump comes to picking people, because of the trouble he had in his 2016 cabinet with people he picked he didn't really know, and he found them to be disloyal, whatever their qualifications were. And that was the problem with the shortlist for Attorney General. They were very well qualified people, but Trump didn't really feel he knew them or could trust them ultimately to deliver what he wants, which is a really sweeping overhaul of the Department of Justice and some of the agencies like the FBI, which he feels have become politicized to a certain degree. And I would just say on the observation that the characters you mentioned who seem to be on an equal footing with Trump and really in his good graces, that's Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Tulsi Gabbard, the former Democratic Congresswoman, and of course Elon Musk. They're all very recent arrivals in the inner circle. They've all turned up this year. And that is putting noses out of joint, as Jan suggests, among the crowd who have stuck with him, but not at the same level. If you look at every court case whenever Trump is in court, Boris Epstein is 1 or 2 seats away from him. He has overseen the legal advice for him for years.
Steve Bannon, who's also been close to Trump for many, many years, is very suspicious of Elon Musk. And it seems that Trump is kind of aware of these warnings and has actually said, you know, in a jocular fashion, Elon won't go home. I can't get rid of him until I don't like him. That was kind of an ominous thing to say. But let's move on to another part of your article, David, where you say, you know, you're essentially asking, what's in it for Musk to hang around Trump? You know, obviously, it's helped Donald Trump tremendously, but what regulatory favors might he ask of the new administration for his businesses?
Well, I think there's plenty in it for Musk, and presumably worth the investment of at least $120 million in just one of the campaigning committees that was behind Trump's victory that came out of Elon Musk's bank account. And that's because he can, in his new role, which is going to be as the co-director of a new Department of Government Efficiency, which is nicknamed DOGE, he can oversee a filleting of government regulatory bodies. Now, that would save the taxpayer a lot of money, but at the same time, it might save Elon Musk a lot of headaches from regulatory bodies like the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, which has been rigorously probing into safety standards at Tesla, as Musk wants to make driverless cars. But the regulations are very tough, and he has to prove to this body, to its satisfaction, a lot of different. He has to pass a lot of different technical tests. On the other hand, if it's efficiency that he's after in the name of efficiency, that same body could cut through all the different state regulations on driverless cars and just say, here's one national regulation that you've got to meet. So instead of having to prove the car state by state by state, there's 50 states in America, one federal rule would be more efficient, wouldn't it? And it would also benefit Musk.
Jan, just a final question. A lot of people will suspect Elon's motives. They'll say he's only in it for himself. Do you think he's in it for himself or for the good of his adopted country?
Well, do you think he bought Twitter just for himself or because he cared about free speech? And as I mentioned, he will be restricted from direct influence of his companies once he takes this role officially. And so everyone should be after benefits for themselves, but also to balance it. And that's what Elon's doing. What are the benefits to the majority, to the people, to the taxpayers? And so Elon is not one of these egos that is only going to be working for his benefit. He and Vivek Ramaswamy have both built successful companies, and they really care about what the corruption, the bureaucracy, it's sort of a corporate I can't say that word, but you know, the corporation with a bureaucracy, and they're going to cut through that because it makes life very, very difficult for us basic people to get things done. And those regulations were created to make life more difficult for people. That's what a bureaucracy is.
Jan Halper Hayes, David Charter, thanks so much for your time today. Much appreciated. Well, coming up in the program, is DOGE really necessary? We're going to be having a bit of an economic debate with a Republican and a Democrat with very different views. But first, a little interlude for our younger viewers.
Donald Trump.
It's the ultimate team-building exercise at the Ultimate Fighting Championship. Trump took all the big beasts of his cabinet to the event in New York, hosted by the UFC's founder, Dana White. Even the Speaker of the House, little Mike Johnson, who looked rather sheepish, attended. Perhaps he had no choice. RFK Jr., on the other hand, got stuck right in. Victorious heavyweight champion John Jones also got into the spirit of the occasion.
I want to say a big thank you to President Donald Trump for being here tonight. Can I get a
Heavyweight champion John Jones celebrated his win with a Trump dance for the president-elect.
Dana White says the whole country is feeling energized after Trump's win.
This is your first pay-per-view since Donald Trump won the election. I know he's a close friend of you, but from a business side, how does that change the UFC? Is it positive for the UFC with him being the president, or does it not change anything?
I think it's positive for the world, to be honest with you. I mean, listen, no matter what side of the fence you sit on politically, you cannot deny that there's almost like this weight that's been lifted off the country right now, and this sigh of relief.
Well, from the Octagon back to the Nexus, and our policy heavyweights today are Richard Goodstein, fighting out of the blue corner, and in the red corner, Peter Lumach. Well, welcome to the Nexus, both of you. Richard, if you can have the first punch, so to speak, why do you think DOGE is such a joke, and why do you think that Elon Musk is definitely not the right man to lead it?
So I don't think the concept of wringing out excess from government is a joke. When Bill Clinton was president, he put Al Gore in charge of something called reinventing government, and they were quite successful. When Clinton left, the budget deficit was zero. The problem is Musk has never dealt in the world of politics, and what he's trying to do, I'm afraid, will undercut the assurance that the American public has that their food is safe, that their pharmaceuticals are safe and effective, that the airline system is being monitored correctly. And the list goes on of things that, you know, people talk about, oh, these regulators, bureaucrats, as if they don't do anything important. They do. And the country depends on them, whether they know it or not. And I'm afraid Musk is so full of himself, he might overreach a little bit.
Hey, Richard, do you think Americans' food is safe? I understand about three quarters of it is ultra-processed food. And according to a professor out of California, whose name escapes me, it's all poison. So he actually talks about the regulatory agencies being captured.
So we're talking about the RFK who was made to eat a McDonald's hamburger on Trump's plane. Look, I think that the U.S. food system, we have a problem with what food Americans eat. But the food itself, generally speaking, is not making people immediately sick. Might it lead to cancers and other things? Of course. And remember, when Michelle Obama talked about healthy eating and organic foods, she was derided across the Republican spectrum. So I love the hypocrisy, and I hope the Republicans get on board with the idea of eating healthily.
Anyway, look, that's not the main subject here, Peter. The main subject is really if there is a necessity for the Department of Governmental Efficiency and if Elon Musk is the right man to lead it.
Absolutely. There is a necessity for it. And what happened is that when the founding fathers gave us the Republican form of government, they gave us three equal branches of the government, the executive, legislative, and judiciary. They never meant for us to have an administrative branch of the government, which has established and delegated duties to make decisions for the American people without being held accountable. Right now, we have 392 federal agencies in the United States, which are killing us with regulations. What happens is that we spend $3.7 trillion on regulatory agencies in the United States, which are preventing us from creating wealth and equity, are destroying the currency. When you look at the purchasing power of the dollar, we're at the verge of losing American dollar or currency as the world currency right now. So it is necessary that we bring the federal government within the confines of the U.S. Constitution, which should have enumerated powers, each branch. And when it comes to eliminating certain federal agencies with the three letters, such as the Department of Education, should be eliminated. The IRS, instead of having 168,000 IRS agents going around harassing American people, they should be sent to the board and try to enforce the border laws and the problems that we have at the border. So I think by having Elon Musk and having Vivek at the top of this agency, we're going to be able to cut down at least $2 trillion and try to balance the budget. Because when Trump was running, he said that I make promises and I'm going to keep my promises. Every nominee right now that Trump is bringing in, it's coming from the business world. It's coming from the world that they understand what it means to be efficient. No one can make fun at Elon Musk.
Let me just take that, if I may, I'm pretty sure Richard could make fun of him. But no, Richard, that's not the point of the program. The point of the program is, you're at $36 trillion US debt, a record, 123% of GDP. Isn't that damaging to America's standing in the world? And isn't it damaging potentially for the future of the US dollar as a reserve currency around the world? Who would want to hold that currency when they can start to move towards other means of payment? And I believe people are, the BRICS especially, are moving towards other means of payment.
Of course, the deficit needs to be brought under control. The single biggest thing that Trump did during his first term was increase the deficit wildly thanks to his tax cuts, which did nothing but enrich the wealthy. So I think there's absolutely ways to increase revenue and to reduce expenses. But Trump has said Medicare is off limits, Social Security is off limits. These are the biggest things that the U.S. government spends money on, and he doesn't seem inclined to do anything other than increase spending on the Pentagon. So I just don't hear anything from him that would suggest that anybody should take as credible the notion that he will do anything to reduce the deficit.
Well, to be fair, sorry, Richard, just a quick little point there to interject. To be fair, he was handling a once-in-a-century COVID epidemic at the time.
I'm talking before COVID. Before COVID, we could even spell COVID. His administration was creating 1.5 million fewer jobs in his first 3 years than the last 3 years of the Obama administration. So this talk that was the greatest economy of all time was hooey. The Financial Times has said the U.S. economy today is the envy of the world. If all these regulations were so hurtful,
well,
the US economy would not
Richard,
be the envy of the world.
Richard, if it was the envy of the world, I think Kamala Harris would have won. In fact, people were very upset about the fact that their meat and eggs and milk and so on was 50% more expensive than it was 4 years prior. But let me ask you about Elon Musk, because we're running out of time, Richard. Elon Musk, the right man, the right temperament for this, and Vivek Ramaswamy, what do you think?
I think when they come up against vested interests in Washington, when they're trying to eliminate a program that has a constituency, I mean, again, they may be onto something. I don't think that Musk does have the temperament, or Ramaswamy. They've never done anything in government of consequence. So I don't think you can just wake up, be a smart person who's invented things, and decide, okay, I'm going to fix the U.S. government as well. But I think when they run up against vested interests, where they have constituencies in Congress, in the Senate, in the House of Representatives, until then, it's all talk. When that happens, and Musk and Ramaswamy succeed in cutting things, then my hat's off to them, assuming the public is not hurt by unsafe food dirty water, dirty air, that kind of thing, which seems to be what they're talking about.
Yeah, well, actually, that brings us back to Professor Robert Lustig. I remember his name now, and he says that 3/4 of American food, which you find on the shelves, is actually ultra-processed and is essentially poison. And as for the agencies that are supposed to be regulating it, they are often from the big food industries already, and they have been captured. Peter, last word for you. Do you have faith in Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk to work together, the two big egos?
Absolutely, I do. Richard is assuming that smart people work for the government. Reagan made it clear that the government is not the solution, is the problem to the American issues that we're facing right now. And when Trump announced that he's running for president again, he made it clear that he's going to go after the government agencies and he's going to keep those promises. What's causing the problems in the United States is not the ordinary citizens like you and I. It is the government agencies, administrative agencies that should be dismantled, a number of them. They were not created with the purpose of impeding Americans from creating wealth and equity and living in freedom and opportunity. They were created with the purpose of maintaining certain positions to direct us in the proper decision. Right now, they have become usurping when it comes to allowing us to pursue the American dream.
Peter?
As I said before, we spent $3 trillion on regulations in the United States and is destroying the American economy, and Trump is the right person, and both Ellen and Vivek are the right persons to cut down these agencies.
Peter Lamage and Richard Goodstein, thank you so much for your contributions to the Nexus today. Much appreciated. And thank you at home and on your phones for watching. If you want to see this episode or any of our previous episodes, do go to our channel on YouTube. Just type in Nexus TRT World. Till next week then, goodbye.